What is up, pigs? Back again for another episode of Blind Pig Podcast, courtesy of bgobsession.com. As we get rolling, we'll remind you can catch us on all major audio platforms, youtube.com, all major socials, and of course at the mothership, bgobsession.com. Swing by, free membership. It's not quite World War III this week like it was last week, but it's still fun conversation. So, gentlemen, happy to see Paul and Tony back. We missed you boys after we've done a couple duo pods the last few weeks. So happy to see you. But I will secede the floor and just say, what's your reaction, instant reaction to the game on Sunday? Because I was there, so I've got my own personal opinions.
I will personally say that I felt like it was a step in the right direction. I'm one of those people who is, on board with securing as high of a draft position as we can. But it was nice to see that in the process, we were able to, have a competitive game. We played against one of the top teams in the AFC. There was no shame in the way that we lost this past week. So again, steps in the right direction. I really love the fact that our offensive line looked really, really good. And when you think of it, heading into next season, that offensive line could potentially be returning 5 starters, assuming that we sign Chris Paul. I thought the right side of that line played exceptionally well with Cosme and Connerly. I thought that Cosme probably had his best game since his return. Tunsil continues to impress at left tackle for the most part. So, a little ray of sunshine and light heading into next year when you hopefully have a fully healthy Jaden Daniels coming back. You could potentially be returning 5 starters along the offensive line. And I think that is a huge advantage moving forward in terms of this team's development. So, there were certainly some positive aspects to that game. And for me, first and foremost, what stood out the most was the offensive line play.
What about you, Tony?
Yeah, kind of similar. Just it was just good to see a good showing all around. And some of the younger guys play well that going forward you would like to see get more playing time, like McGee and Burks stood out. And then just to see the defense play just a more sound, just better game was a good thing to see as well. With our head coach, you kind of see like what makes him great, and then what makes him great also hurt him in that he kept a Witt for so long, but he's such a loyal guy, and that's why everyone loves him. But you can see that the adjustments he's made, the team just plays better. He knows how to put them in the better positions to play despite all the injuries, and it was just good to see the team really scrap and really get in the game. They could have won the game. And then I guess long term, this was kind of the best outcome. We played very well, could have won the game, but didn't to help the draft pick. But it was just an encouraging game. And watching the game, you can't, for me at least, I couldn't help but root like I wanted the team to win. But when they didn't win, it wasn't devastating.
Bob, what was your gut reaction?
So I said this in the forums. This was a good loss if such a thing exists. Right? This is the kind of loss that you come away from thinking your team can play in this league. And we've had a couple of games in the last 4 or 5 weeks where I'm sure all of us were beginning to wonder if we could play in this league. Especially when a team flies all the way across the country from the West Coast, comes to your house and beats you. I started to add extra words to that, but I think everybody gets the idea, right? Seattle really did a number on us in our own place, and you kind of begin to wonder exactly whether last year was a mirage at moments. This team can play with anybody in the league right now, and that's with a backup quarterback. Slightly more in-depth thoughts. Terry McLaurin makes this offense a different offense. There were things open in the middle of the field for Zach Ertz that haven't been open for Zach Ertz all season long because Terry McLaurin was lined up on the outside and sucked up Patrick Surtain's attention. This is a different game if Surtain is matched up one-on-one with Deebo Samuels and they've got better coverage on Zach Ertz. And for the record, Surtain is considered one of the premier defenders in the league, not just cornerbacks, but defenders, period. And all Terry McLaurin did was go out there and nearly hang 100 yards and a touchdown on him. And most of those catches were against Surtain. It wasn't like, they were rolling the coverage around and McLaurin got a better matchup. McLaurin got Surtain almost every time he lined up. And granted, I mean, I don't know. I think he had 6 receptions on like 13 targets or something. So that number necessarily isn't great, but I dare say that if you go back and look at anybody else's production against Patrick Surtain this year, you're going to find that McLaurin's numbers look pretty damn good. I'm not sure, but what this defense isn't a different defense with Will Harris. I didn't think it would be, but it looked better even than it did 2 weeks ago against Miami. Now, granted, part of that's, I'm sure, Dan Quinn getting his sea legs back underneath of him, calling the defense and having 2 weeks to implement some things that he wanted to see in the defensive game plan, as opposed to taking somebody else's game plan for Miami and trying to call plays off the sheet. But even so, having Will Harris out there seemed to certainly make a difference. I want to see more of Jordan McGee. I want to see more of Treylon Burks. I don't know if we've got something in Burks or not, but I think there's a real possibility we've got something in Burks. He only had the 1 catch, but oh my God, what a catch. That's got to be in contention for catch of the year. And I mean league-wide, not just Washington's catch of the year, but any catch of the year. That was just amazing, especially when you consider he was wearing a defender. But I'm with the other thing I'll say, and this is not a positive for Washington so much as it is a positive for Denver. I don't know where they shop for defensive ends and playmaking safeties, but I want Adam Peters to go shop at that store, because I felt like there were 14 guys playing defense every single snap of the ball. It just felt like there were 14 guys out there, and our offense kept moving the ball, but I don't know about y'all. I never felt comfortable because that Denver defense is just everywhere. It was really impressive watching the Denver defense play, and it was impressive watching our offense play against them. I had several moments where I thought, man, I love what Marcus is doing, but boy, if Jaden were playing this game, there were a couple of those long shots they took that were off. I don't think Jaden would have thrown that pick. I'm surprised Marcus threw the pick, honestly. And I think he said after the game that he was trying to throw it away and just didn't get enough on it. But yeah, I came away feeling pretty good. And I got to admit, even though I felt pretty good, I was really ripped that we didn't win that game because it was there for the winning. It was and that's a statement kind of a win. I know we jumped up to number 6 on the draft list. I get it. I've heard all the arguments, but man, beating the number 1 team in the AFC, the team that made Kansas City look bad, the team that's made pretty much everybody look bad this year, would have just been the icing on. Just would have been so nice. Oh my God, would I feel good this week? I feel pretty good anyway, but I would have just been over the moon all week. So there you go. Probably a pretty good game to go to, wasn't it, Derek?
It was that. It was, other than it being cold and wet for the entire time we were in the parking lot. But I'm going to zoom out first and say I think this was absolute best case scenario. Obviously, I was there. I wanted to win. I always want to win, but 48 hours after the kickoff, it's not lost on me that the biggest benefit was that we did not compromise draft status. I don't want us to lose intentionally. I don't want us to tank. I want the team to go out there and believe they can win every time they play the game. And I think they can legitimately walk away from that game believing that they could have won that game. I saw a lot of things that that I liked. I saw a lot of things I didn't like, and it'll be just to be totally fair. Cliff Kingsbury continues to be a hell of an offensive coordinator. I mean, he finds ways to do things that a lot of people that we haven't had do here. But I think he gets kind of cute sometimes, and he gets kind of ahead of himself. In the moment, there were a couple plays like the Debo Wildcat and some other things that I'm in the stadium and I'm pulling my hair out because I'm just like, like what are we doing here? But ultimately, everything that team did was enough to win that football game against pretty much anybody in the league. There's a couple teams that you might put that up against, but they stood tall. They did what they needed to do. And to your point, Treylon Burks had arguably the catch of the year. Defensively, I tend to agree that we are improved, but there's still something going on that in crunch time we give up the big play that just brings us to our knees. In overtime, to give up Evan Ingram down the seam for 47 or whatever and make it not even a laughable attempt at stopping them was rough. To end the game, I completely agree with going for 2-point conversion there. A tie is the same as a loss. I've heard both sides of the argument, but the vast majority of the fans believe that, and I agree with it. Why tie at that point? Go for the win if it works. The play call was there. The defender just made a hell of a play. You can't get mad at that.
Yeah.
It happens. But I'm going to pivot a minute here and say the thing that frustrated me the most is that it felt like I was in Denver. If you look at the pictures from that stadium and if you listen to the TV broadcast, it was louder when we were on offense on third down than when we were on defense. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I've got pictures to prove that we were literally in a sea of orange. And I get it. We're 3-9 or 3-8. But I'm gonna be a little bit of a jerk here and call out the fan base and say that if that's what happens, then I don't want to hear you complaining and talking about how we're one of the best fan bases in sports. Because we're not. We're a front running fan base. We always have been. Admit it. Like it was exhausting to walk down through the parking lot, through the concourse, all of these places, and literally we are outnumbered 4 and 5 to 1 with orange and blue jerseys, and it made for a fun environment at the end of the game because the energy was absolutely electric because both sides are feeling that angst. It wasn't just coming from one side. And there were some really good people there, but I was just, it was kind of sad to sit there and just look around and feel that. I get there's all the reasons in the world not to go to the game. It's a night game. It's Thanksgiving weekend. The team's not doing well. So I get it. But if you're going to argue that we have one of the best fan bases in the NFL, the effort wasn't there and it always hasn't been. So not to bring it down, but it was just something I needed to get off my chest because it was overwhelming. It was similar to that Steelers game, Monday night game, where it was like terrible towels for days, and that Chiefs sleet game where they ended up blowing us out and you'd have thought we were an Arrowhead. I mean, I've been at a couple of these games, and it's kind of discouraging to continue to see that, even though we're 3 months removed from an NFC Championship appearance. But all of that said, McLaurin is definitely a difference maker. He needs to stay healthy. Ertz is good for a lot of things, and one of the things, the biggest things he's good for is one play a game that makes you want to smack yourself in the face. He dropped the touchdown in overtime. Terry McLaurin bailed him out. In past games he's had that random false start or the dropsies or whatever. Luckily, it didn't technically matter now, but that stuff makes a difference. And one thing that nobody talked about that I want to talk about again is I'm not even blaming the loss on it because I'm okay with it, but the officiating is absolute trash.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Mariota gets kick tripped and he gets called down by contact, negating a first down. Mariota throws a ball over Terry McLaurin's head, albeit 10 feet, but multiple times I've seen clips of the people actually announcing the game talking about how it was a missed call with their NFL rule specialists who's a part of the broadcast on NBC. And it's just, it never seems to get right. And it's something that is exhausting that it's 2025. It's this league is making more money than the government. And that's saying something. And they can't get it right enough to have officials that can be consistently either held accountable or trained and managed, because something is continuing to be off where it just seems like they can't figure it out, and it's tiring to watch it to continue. So we could have won that game by 14 points if just on the officiating, and I hate this, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to blame things, but so many aspects of that has become it's affecting and changing outcomes of games.
Yeah,
and we should not be here. And it's not just us; it's anywhere in the NFL.
I mean, there were like 3 calls on that one drive, and I'd forgot you were at the game, Derek. I was beside myself. I was the only one up in the house. Everybody else went to bed, and I'm sitting in the living room just raging at my TV over the calls. It was ridiculous. I understand missing a judgment call, but I felt like at least 2 of those were just flat misinterpretations of the rules. It was like they just didn't know the rule book.
Mm-hmm.
And that I don't understand. You're going to be an official. You need to know the rule book like the back of your hand. You need to understand the rule book. And I don't understand it. And I don't understand the fact that the league will be silent about it this week.
Oh, and what makes it even worse is that they'll get the booth assistance on certain things, but not others. If it's there, why can't the booth call down and say, no, that's not grounding? Like, why?
Well,
or why can't they call down and say,
on the tripping play?
Yeah, he's down by contact, but it is a clear violation of the tripping rule. Therefore, there should be an assessed penalty.
Right. Like, why can you say down by contact, but you can't say it was a trip? I just don't understand that. Yeah, I'm with you.
And it's so clear and obvious too. It wasn't like it could go either way. And it was like so obvious, those calls too.
So that was my little synopsis from the game. It was a fun as hell game to be at, and the environment, like just the back and forth. The team fought like hell. I one thing I will also in closing say that I noticed a lot that I love to see was that Debo, Treylon Burks, and Terry McLaurin seem to be talking every pre-play. Like, I don't know if they're talking about coverages. I don't know, but they just always seem to be putting their heads together, and they're saying something to somebody, or they're whispering something. It just seems like there's a level of communication in that camaraderie. And say what you will, this damn team doesn't quit, man. Like, our fans might have quit as much as I'm being critical. That team was playing like they were playing for playoffs. And you can't tell me any different. The output might not have been there with some aspects of it, but they were out there grinding in playing like this game actually meant something towards their season. And they're not willing to just roll over and die. And I have to say that, like, that's the culture that we've all wanted. And it's something that we've all hoped to get. And maybe you can be critical about Dan Quinn, that maybe he should have taken the play calling over in week 4 instead of week 9 or whatever you want to do. But he's got that locker room right. Those boys are ready to play when they come out on that football field, regardless of the score, regardless of the circumstances, whatever. Some of them lack the talent, but they're coming to play.
They
football.
get after it. Yeah. Oh, one other thing too. They didn't. I'm glad they didn't cost the game, but new long snapper and kicker for this game, and they held up fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jake Moody's got me cautiously optimistic. The field goals and the extra points Sunday night were uneventful.
Yeah,
mundane even.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
I mean, granted, we didn't kick anything from 55 yards, but
And there was
you
no
know,
there was no pressure.
38 yarders, say what you will about Gay, he could make a 38 yarder exciting.
Unfortunately.
And not in a good way.
Yeah, sadly.
So as we tie a bow on that, I'm curious. It looks like for all intent and purposes that Jaden's gonna be back this week. Of course, then nothing's been official. He's still technically not cleared for contact. Bob, you and I kind of talked about it, but I'm curious, Paul and Tony, what are your feelings on what do you want to see Jaden back? Do you want to and what do you want to see like going forward from the team? Because before we get into Minnesota, I would like to see what you think you'd like to see over the last month of the season. Paul,
100%. I want him to be playing. I mean, the guy has essentially one season of NFL experience under his belt. He needs to be playing. He needs to be having snaps. He needs to be getting the constant repetition. I want to see him, over this last month or so of the season, just get in there, find a rhythm, because I feel like early on in the season, there wasn't a rhythm established. There were a lot of missing pieces. Obviously, McLaurin was out of the lineup. We were missing several components of our offensive line. I just want to see some cohesiveness develop between quarterback, offensive lineman, number one receiver, because I think that those types of things can carry over from season to season. I know that results in the NFL from one season to the next, you can't predict what we're going to do next year based on how this season played out. But I think having that cohesiveness between quarterback, offensive line, receivers and whatnot, I think those things, there is some value in that. So I just want to see Jaden get into a rhythm, establish some confidence moving into the offseason and, take it from there. So 100%, I want to see him playing. And I think it's important that he plays as well.
Yeah, same for me. Like, same. It hasn't changed from a couple weeks ago when I was on. If he's healthy, he should be out there. And then also, I think it also just fits the culture of the team. Everyone's still out there giving their best effort and scrapping and getting after it. So he should be out there too. And then also, I just think it'll be fun to have him out there because him and Terry haven't been healthy together, it feels like, and Debo. So it'd be fun to see them all together at the same time. And because he's a young player, it's also good for him to get reps. It's not like he's some like 12-year veteran kind of guy where, okay, you can just sit. But if he's healthy, he should be back out there.
all right. Well, on to, I guess we can talk about Minnesota a little bit if Jaden's healthy. It might not be a bad place to bring him back to. That's an underachieving team. They've got their own struggles at quarterback. JJ McCarthy looks like he's going to be coming back. They just waived Adam Thielen, which isn't a huge deal. He wasn't really doing much. So I don't know about you guys. I actually feel more confident about this game than I did 5 days ago. Even though they rolled out some guy who nobody can knows what's his name is this past weekend, and he threw like 4 picks or something crazy. So, I definitely feel different with Dan Quinn orchestrating the defense and what we can do with Justin Jefferson. But I'm curious where your guys' head is at going into Minnesota, and what do you guys want to see? What do you think we'll see? Bob.
Oh, okay. I actually think we'll win this football game. I think if the same team shows up Sunday that showed up this last Sunday, we win this football game because I think Minnesota is in greater disarray than we are. And I don't think they have the same level of want it that we showed against Denver on Sunday. What do I want to see? I would like to see a convincing win. I'll settle for a win, but I would like to see this team go in there and do what I think they should do, predicated on the way they played this last Sunday. And that is win. I'm not saying they blow Minnesota out, but this feels like one of those games that should be comfortable. And by that, I mean, we don't ever feel like we're, in a dogfight. As long as they go in and do what they're supposed to do. And if Jaden, and that's whether Jaden plays or not, by the way. I mean, I'm on the bring Marcus back bandwagon. I want to see him back next year. Right. I realize that his win-loss record isn't great here as a starter in place of Jaden. But I don't feel like that's all on the offense. I feel like a lot of that's on the defense. I also feel like a lot of that's on injuries. I mean, you bring your backup quarterback in and he doesn't have 3 of his top 4 receivers, and you kind of it puts him in it puts him in a really difficult place. We've asked him to do some amazing stuff, and quite frankly, he's played some pretty good football games, considering the hand that this team has been dealt. So I feel good about this, whether Marcus plays or whether Jaden plays. I expect to see more of Terry this week than we did this last week. With the reported pitch count, at least until we went to overtime, and the whole pitch count idea went out the window, and he played about 15 more plays than anybody thought he was going to play. But yeah, that's kind of what I expect to see. And I expect to see this defense stifle JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead, Paul.
We're being way too nice to each other. Go ahead.
I know.
You're at a bar. Be mean.
Cautiously optimistic. I just think, though, if they play with the same effort that they did against Denver, against a team that's not the same caliber, that we should be able to win this game. And even if McCarthy comes back, it'll be his first game back, and he's inexperienced. So I think that'll help the defense as well. And I think the offense can get into a rhythm. I think we'll be in good shape for this game.
Personally, myself, I view this week as an opportunity for the defense to build on some of the positive momentum that they've established over the last couple of games against Miami and Denver. Obviously, defensively, we've been better those weeks. As a unit, we're not even close to being where we want to be. But I think that this is a week where that defense can hopefully establish some confidence, develop and get a little bit of swagger back, and move closer towards the unit that we want to become. And I mean, Minnesota is ripe for the picking in that regard. If you look at some of their numbers from last week against Seattle, 162 total yards offensively. They only averaged 3.2 yards per play. They were like 20% on third down against the Seahawks, and they turned the ball over 4 times. I mean, we have not been able to get turnovers all season. If we can't take the ball away a few times this coming week, I don't know if it's ever going to happen for us the rest of the way. So this is a game where you just want to establish some defensive momentum, build on some of the positives that we've had with Dan Quinn calling plays the last few weeks, and see where we go from there, right? This is as good of an opportunity as any.
Yeah, we have forced 7 turnovers in the entire season, including 1 fumble.
Man, the whole season.
The interception to Bobby Wagner, I can't I'll take it, but I'm not even going to give Bobby Wagner credit because it's like Nick's forgot what team he played for and threw it to the wrong guy because there was no reason to make that throw. and he hit him right in the chest. Like, so, yeah, I think that's what I want to see. I need to see some ball hawking. I want to see Will Harris get his feet under him again. I want to see steps by Amos
Yeah,
and
he'll do.
Sanders still. You're going up against JJ, okay? You're going up against one of the top 3 receivers in the league. Albeit he's not having the season he's used to having, but he's still one of the best players out there. So you did it against Miami somewhat. You did it against Denver somewhat. Now let's follow that up on the road in a dome when there's no wind. It's not going to be freezing cold inside. And let's see what this defense can do. Obviously, Jaden being back is going to change things, but I want to see us continue to lean on this running game. Christopher Rodriguez is quietly been a bright spot.
Yeah.
This offensive line has quietly been a bright spot. So if we can continue that play with McNichols, C-Rod, and what the hell happened to Krosky Merritt? It's like teams are just like making it so he's the guy that doesn't beat you anymore. You know, those plays where he was able to bounce outside or get some space, it just feels like it's just not there anymore. And I don't know if they're seeing something in practice that's limiting his touches or what, but he has just disappeared over the second half of this season. So I'm curious what's up there. But
I can't help but think that maybe what he had fumbles in back-to-back games, right?
That very well could be it too. Yeah.
I can't help but think that maybe he isn't so conscious of ball security now, that maybe he's not, maybe he's not being as proactive with a cut because he's all tied up around the ball. I don't know, but that's when it changed, was those 2 fumbles back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
And then he hardly got used the week after that second one. And I can't help but think that there isn't a little voice in his head going, protect the football, protect the football, protect the football, and he's just not playing loose.
Very good point. Well, a couple little notes. I don't know if you guys noticed, today is the day that Hard Knocks NFC East edition starts streaming. It started 5 minutes ago, so I'll be watching that after the podcast. Tavita Pritchard, our quarterbacks coach, has been officially named the head coach of Stanford, so we will be losing him.
Oh, yeah.
But I've heard a lot of good things about David Blau, so I can't really. I'm curious that there were a lot of people that have him earmarked to be a coordinator, an up and coming ascending assistant to be a coordinator and even a head coach at some point. So I'm curious to see what happens there. And the other thing is Laramie Tunsil. If anybody wonders why we gave up what we did for him, I just ask you to go back and look at this season.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
There's been a few bright spots. It's been Laramie Tunsil, so I got to give him some credit because that he's been an absolute beast. I hope that continues.
So, listening today to Paulson and Paulson, Tunsil was part of, and this goes back to where Paul started the pod tonight, but Tunsil was part of a five-man line that posted the best numbers of any team in the NFL against that Denver defense all season long. Mm-hmm. We won everything. And I mean, and it's not close. Listen to those guys talk about the ratings for the individual players. Every single guy on the line rated highly. Tunsil better than anybody else, as you might expect. He just absolutely nullified the top pass rusher in the league right now. Other guys came free, but it wasn't the dude. And Larry pretty much did that all by himself. So great call out. I was terrified that they were gonna live in our backfield, and they kind of did, but not to great effect. They only got, what was it? They only applied pressure on 18% of Marcus's dropbacks, and he dropped back like 50 times Sunday night.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
We ran
Sounds like a
85
lot.
plays. There were 35 running plays. Marcus was still dropping back 50 times, and they only applied pressure on 18% of those. And one of those sacks shouldn't have been a sack. It should have been a penalty.
Right. And yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Paul. Were you saying something?
No, I wasn't.
Anyways. Well, fellas, I don't know if we want to do predictions.
Wait, back up for a second. I want to talk about Tavita Pritchard leaving for a second. I'm less worried about Tavita Pritchard leaving as the quarterback coach than I am if something happens to Kingsbury and he leaves in the offseason, because in my head, I had Pritchard earmarked as the next OC. If Kingsbury moves on in January, and now that path is gone, I can't see them promoting Blau all the way to OC. And so I'm a little worried about that's my only thing about losing Pritchard to Stanford. I'm very excited for the guy. I mean, he's obviously doing great work and deserves a chance at a head coaching position. I think that's brilliant. But for the team, I'm a little worried about the OC if Kingsbury were to get an offer he couldn't refuse in January.
Yeah, I think there's some backup plans there with Brian Johnson, former Eagles OC. My gosh, our run game coordinator Anthony Lynn is there.
Anthony Lynn.
He's another internal.
Yeah.
There could be an external, but yeah, you're not wrong. Pritchard was kind of one of those guys that you wonder would become like a staple. You know what I mean? Like come from the Kingsbury coaching tree, or you know what I mean? Like one of those kind of guys that seems to just find a way after 5 or 6 years of being with the same team to just jump. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, boys, I will say, hey, guess what? This is our first 1:00 game since late October.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Jeez.
As weird as that sounds, we're on the other side of this thing.
We better get used to it because we're probably going to have a few more next year.
They just actually announced also that they have flexed, or they announced Washington's December 20th game against the Eagles as being a 5 p.m. kick.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Saturday. What is that week? I think that's week 17. But that just rolled out not that long ago either. So, week 16. So, anyways, fellas, what are we feeling on Minnesota? What do you think ultimately happens? What do you want to happen? Predictions and hopefuls. What you got, Bob?
Washington, 27-14.
That would be a very comfortable win.
Yeah, first time I felt really good. I mean, I don't think we go in there and hang 40 on them, but this is the first time I felt good in a week. And understand that's as much because Minnesota appears to be, I don't want to say a dumpster fire because that's kind of reserved for New Orleans and
New York.
Okay. Watching their kicker kick the ground last night, you got to wonder if maybe New York isn't a dumpster fire. I mean, that was harsh. I watched that in real time. I was like, you got to be kidding me, brother. I don't know how that worked because he didn't even slip. It's like he meant to kick the ground. I don't get it. But no, I'm thinking, Cleveland and Cincinnati before Joe Burrow came back. I mean, there's some teams in the league that do not look good. But no, I think, I don't know. I think it'll be slightly more than 10 points. So that's why I went 24-14. You just can't contain Jefferson all game long, I don't think. Which is why I said 14 points, because I just see Jefferson doing something. It'll be real interesting to see how John Allen does, whether he's extra motivated playing against
Oh,
I
that's
didn't
Washington.
even think about that.
I forgot about
I
that.
don't want to go so far as to say it's a revenge game, but guys typically get up to play the team they were on last. So I expect Chris Paul, Tyler Biadasz, and Sam Cosmi to see a less than friendly known face across the line. No, I don't think they've got enough to. If we play the way we did Sunday, they don't have enough in Minnesota to play with us. And that's why I say 27-14. Unless, of course, the officials get involved again.
What do you think, Tony?
Yeah. I'm going to go 26-17 Washington. I think, yeah. Likewise, I just think we have a little too much for them if we're playing the right way.
Paul?
So here's the thing: when you've lost 7 games in a row, I feel like sometimes you're just due for a win, and that's the point we're at in the season. I mean, that win against the Chargers seems like it happened an eternity ago. We're just at the point in the season where we're due. And here's the crazy thing: we're 3-9, but and I know this might sound ridiculous in saying this, but we're better than that 3-9 record indicates, even given the rash of injuries that we've had. Like, the injuries have been absolutely insane, but we're better than that 3-9 record. There are 3 plays this season that, had they gone our way, we can literally be sitting at 6-6 right now and talking about having a potential chance to compete for a playoff spot. There was the fumble in the Chicago game.
Yep.
There was the missed field goal against Miami. And what is the other?
The 2-point conversion.
Yes, the other play was in the Denver game. So those 3 plays go our way. We're sitting at 6-6. So
right.
We're better than the record, and we're just due for a win. So I'm going to say we're going to win convincingly this week, 27-13.
I want to say there was one of those plays in the Atlanta game too, wasn't there? I have to think about that. But I feel like no, we lost to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's why they call it a game of inches, unfortunately.
Yeah. Totally agree, Paul. Good points.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not as bullish on it as you guys are. I do think we're going to be the better team, especially if Jaden is back. I think Mariota's capable. I think McCarthy is still going through growing pains, but I think that offense has explosive ability. I still think we do win. I just don't think I think it's more of a 27-25 win. It's closer. I want to have more confidence. Let me also say that I believe our defense can be better than 25 points given up. I absolutely think our offense can be better than 27. I do think but I just don't know that I'm expecting us to have a double-digit win right now. The team's we're still not 100%. We're getting back there, hopefully. Hopefully Jaden plays. It's a good landing spot. It's in a dome. He's not going to have to worry about the elements. He's not going to have to worry about being cold. The running game seems to be coming on at times. We can ride that a little bit. So I think ultimately, like I said, 27-25, but I could see this being 27-13 also, just based on how Minnesota's offense is. So I'm just not that confident yet. And maybe another week that Dan Quinn's calling the plays and running the defense and things look to be, going in a positive direction will continue to reinforce that. Well, boys, happy to have at least 4 of us back. We'll have to wiggle another one in here. Hopefully next week we can get Brother John back on the board and run it back with the OGs. But as always, I appreciate you guys. If you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to go watch Hard Knocks. So I will catch you fellas later. And as always, we'll go ahead and end this thing up and say that'll do, pigs. That'll do.